Hi, I'm Steve Royle from mymedicalaffairs.com, and welcome to another episode we like to call Meet the Organiser, which is a series of videos in where we meet the brains and the founder behind some of the more interesting companies and events in the medical affairs space. Today, we're very fortunate to be joined by Helen Kane, who's the founder of One MSL and one of the more recognisable people in the medical affairs industry, going on a reputation that's been forged by delivering some really high-value, incredible resources and courses for medical affairs professionals. Helen, welcome to Meet the Organiser. It's lovely to have you here.
Well, Steve, thank you firstly for the really kind words. And more importantly, thank you for the invitation. It's an absolute privilege to be one of your esteemed guests. So thanks for the opportunity.
It's our pleasure. What our listeners have said they like to know a little bit about is the Organiser themselves. So we'd love to hear a little bit about your background and how you arrived at creating and launching One MSL, and then maybe talk about your webinar.
Okay, Steve, so I know I've kind of got a couple of minutes in which to do this, so let's see if I can be succinct. Firstly, for anyone that's listening, I'm a pharmacist by background. That's my original degree, and I spent 25 years working within industry in medical affairs in a variety of roles. And for anyone listening, you'll not be surprised to know that I have been an MSL and I've been an MSL leader. And back in 2010, I was one of a group of individuals who founded the first Medical Science Liaison Association for MSLs within the UK and Ireland. And I was fortunate and privileged to be chair of that association between 2013 and 15. What did that do for me? It just really created an absolute passion to make a difference. I was able firsthand to observe what was happening within the industry in terms of the evolution of the MSL role. And I gained a bit of, as you used the word reputation, a reputation as a truly passionate advocate for the role of the MSL and the wider medical affairs team. And so fast forward 2017, I took the very brave step of moving away from corporate life to set up as an independent consultant. And here we are 7 years later, really proud to be a global training consultancy, which is recognized, I think, for its focus around field medical. So we've probably gone a bit broader than the MSL today. So we talk a lot about field medical and the wider medical affairs team.
Yeah, it's been really quite a journey listening to where you've been and where you've come from. And you've talked about being involved with MSLs from the start. There's certainly been an enormous evolution and adaptation of the role that you would have overseen. So it leaves you, I would imagine, in a very good position to be able to work with teams, consult and help train them. But it's not just the training element and the courses that that I've heard so many good reviews about. It's these resources that you've been able to develop as well along the way that you've made publicly available to the medical affairs community. One not too recently about measuring field impact, which I understand had over 20 of the industry's some of the most credible leaders in medical affairs field medicine. But now there's a new initiative that I understand you've been working on in terms of a global survey. We'd love to hear a little bit about that because I think it feeds in to the webinar that we're about to touch on.
Yeah, thanks, Steve. So for anyone who's interested, there are a bunch of free resources available within our One MSL website. Just sign up for the One community. It's totally free. We just ask you to sign up and then you can access all of the resources that Steve is referring to. But actually the survey is not new, Steve. We began the survey back in 2018. And why did we do that? We did that because we wanted to understand MSL reality and needs. We wanted to gather some data. We wanted to really know that what we were developing and delivering was what was needed by companies and teams. And So we've conducted this survey over 5 years, and it has grown in size with time. And the 2024 survey, which we ran at the beginning of this year, we have just completed the analysis of those findings, and it's super exciting. I mean, really, obviously you can sense that I get excited about everything that I do, but
it's infectious. I want to probe for the answers right now, but we don't want any reveals before the date, I'm sure.
No, I won't give them to you. But basically, we have responses from almost 600 MSLs from 64 countries.
Wow.
And it makes for great reading.
That number's pretty astounding in itself. So no doubt, really capturing the true essence of the topics that you're discussing. So the webinar, where we're not going to get any early reveals from you, it sounds, but for those who do want to learn the outcomes of these and hear from you and any other people involved in the call, could we learn a little bit more about that? Who's going to be on it and when it's going to be?
Yeah, thanks. So if you'd like to see a post around this, please go to my LinkedIn post. There's a registration link within that. There's also a link that allows you to request a copy of the findings. So just sign up, we'll send you the findings. And I'm really super honoured to be joined by Mark Rees-Saunders, who was ex-Global Excellence Lead at Astellas. And so Mark has just recently stepped into a role of a consultant. And he is an amazing and very experienced individual in terms of his observations around the role of the MSL from a global perspective. And so Mark and I will be doing a bit of a deep dive into some of the findings. In fact, I should say there are 2 webinars, Steve. The first webinar is focusing on the data relating to field medical, so in other words, MSLs and the equivalent. And the second webinar will be looking at the data with respect to medical leaders. So those individuals who are leading MSLs. So we're actually spreading it over 2 webinars. So this is the first webinar on the 26th of September. So registration link within LinkedIn.
Yeah, we'll put the link down the bottom of in the LinkedIn post for this video as well for anybody watching it now.
Fantastic.
But no, that sounds exceptionally interesting to not only have the MSL cohort, but also something there for the leaders to draw upon, because if the leaders don't have oversight and vision of what this growing sentiment and key areas of challenge and barriers are at the field level, then it's difficult to help manage any sort of change and projects that need to be implemented.
Yeah, and really what we hear from leaders who look at the findings, Steve, is that they use the findings to benchmark themselves as organizations. They use the findings to inform decisions that they want to make with respect to the delivery of training moving forward. They use the findings to really just to understand the challenges MSLs experience. And so there are 70 questions. So there's a lot of data to wade through, and we won't be able to touch it all within the webinar. But as we said, if you'd like to have a copy of the report of the findings, that is also available. But we will, we'll pick, let's say, the juicier topics, those that we feel will really resonate with people. And of course, Steve, what we also have, and I don't quite know how we're going to approach this yet, but we have 5 years worth of data. So one of the things that we really need to be thinking about are, what are the trends? What are we seeing? What are we observing?
Indeed, and what you may be able to forecast off the back of those trends as well. Everybody wants to know where are we going, what's next, and you may have a few little indicators that could help people prepare for what's to come. Helen,
Absolutely.
I'm really looking forward to the webinar. I'll definitely be there, and can't wait to hear about it. I won't take it personally that you won't share anything with us ahead of time, but understand that we can't give it away. But thanks so much for joining us, Helen. This sounds exceptionally interesting and relevant, useful, just like all of your other resources. And I encourage all the listeners to check it out, learn a bit more, and join the webinar if you can find the time. But thank you for today, Helen, and really appreciate your time.
No, thanks, Steve. Thanks again for the invitation.